Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Well, we're going to go back to some good old days stuff this hour, an episode of Dragnet and an episode of the Aldrich Family, as they were both broadcast on October 5th, 1952. And then we're going to go back to 1937 for an episode of Phyl Coe Mysteries. And we're going to do the usual stuff that we used to do. We're going to do the news of that Sunday, along with telling you that this is a Thursday. This is the 5th day of October, 278th day of 2023, 87 days until we get to 2024. Wilbur Wright piloted the Wright Flyer 3 on this date in 1905. A flight ran 24 miles in 39 minutes. It was a record that would stand until 1908. A 6-month strike by Hollywood set decorators turned into a bloody riot at the gates of Warner Brothers Studios on this date in 1945. It was the Hollywood Black Friday. The first televised White House address given by President Truman on this date in 1947. In that address, Truman asked for Americans to refrain from eating meat on Tuesdays and poultry on Thursdays to help stockpile grain for the starving people in Europe. Earl Warren sworn in as the 14th Chief Justice of the U.S. on this date in 1953, and premiering on this date in 1956, the Dinah Shore Chevy Show.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. America is asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all. On a highway or a road along a levee, performance is sweeter, nothing can beat her. Life is completer in a Chevy. So make a date today to see the USA and see it in your Chevrolet.
Traveling east, traveling west, wherever you go, Chevy service is best. Southward or north, near place or far, there's a Chevrolet dealer for your Chevrolet car.
So make a date today to see the USA and see it in your Chevrolet.
The show would begin on this date in 1956, would continue until May of 1963 on an irregular basis. Beatles released their first single, Love Me Do, in Britain on this date in 1952. And it was on this date in 1969, the first broadcast of Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Is this the right one for an argument?
I've told you once.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
When?
Just now.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Didn't. Didn't.
I'm telling you I did.
You did not.
Oh, I'm sorry, is this a 5-minute argument or the full half hour?
Oh, just the 5-minute one.
Fine. Thank you. Anyway, I did.
You most certainly did not.
Now, let's get one thing quite clear. I most definitely told you.
You did not.
Yes, I did.
You did not.
Yes, I did.
Didn't.
Yes, I did.
Didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, this isn't an argument.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. It's just contradiction.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
It is. You just contradicted me.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did.
No.
You did, just then.
No, nonsense.
Oh, look, this is futile.
No, it isn't.
I came here for a good argument.
No, you didn't. You came here for an argument.
Well, an argument's not the same as contradiction.
Can be.
No, it can't. An argument's a connected series of statements to establish a definite proposition.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. It isn't just contradiction.
Look, if I argue with you, I must take up a contrary position.
But it isn't just saying no, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. Argument's an intellectual process. Contradiction is just the automatic gainsaying of anything the other person says.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Not at all.
No, look.
Thank you.
John Cleese, Graham Chapman, 45-minute episodes of Monty Python's Flying Circus aired over 4 seasons from 1969 to 1974. And in fact, They continue in reruns to this day. PBS became a television network on this date in 1970. I Honestly Love You first reached number 1 on the Billboard charts in 1974, giving Olivia Newton-John her first top-selling single in the U.S. In the vice presidential debate of 1988, Republican vice presidential nominee Dan Quayle, who had been comparing himself to President Kennedy in stump speeches, said during the debate that he had as much experience in Congress as JFK did when he sought the presidency. It was the moment that Senator Lloyd Bentsen had been waiting for.
I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Benson's line was not an offhanded remark, as it appeared. In fact, the line had been practiced in a mock debate 3 days earlier. The spin-off from the television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, premiered on the WB network on this date in 1999. In 2000, mass demonstrations in Belgrade led to the resignation of Serbian strongman Slobodan Milosevic. The demonstrations often called the Bulldozer Revolution. Robert Stevens became the first victim in the 2001 anthrax attacks on this date. And also on this date, Tom Ridge resigned as governor of Pennsylvania to become President Bush's Homeland Security advisor. Defying the White House on this date in 2005, the Senate voted 90-9 to approve an amendment that would prohibit the use of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment against anyone in U.S. government custody. In 2010, Phyl Coe, the Pakistani immigrant who tried to detonate a car bomb in Times Square, sentenced to life in prison by a federal judge in New York. Now, passing away on this date in history, Eddie Kendricks, the singer-songwriter, also pro wrestler Brian Pillman, comedian, producer, screenwriter Rodney Dangerfield, and the co-founder of Apple and Pixar, Steve Jobs. Those people passing away on this date in history. This is the birth date of the 21st President of the United States. Do you know who that is? That was Chester A. Arthur. Rocket scientist Robert Goddard, Larry Fine of the Three Stooges, the founder of McDonald's, Ray Kroc, Mrs. Miller, whom you hear us sing occasionally here. In fact, we'll hear her in a few moments. TV game show host Alan Ludden, born on this date. As I have said frequently, it was sad for us, the passing of Betty White, just a few short days from her 100th birthday, but she was reunited with her beloved Alan Ludden. Also, family circus cartoonist Bill Keane, the man who sang about My Maria, B.W. Stevenson, actor Jeff Conaway, comedian Bernie Mac, and the very, very funny Bill Dana.
You've been selected to be the first man shot to Mars. Would you like to talk about that trip?
Not really.
Well, go ahead. That's going to be a long trip, of course, out of space, although it's many days long. Now, what do you plan to do to entertain yourself?
I plan to cry a lot. I could start now if you...
No. Now, tell me, Jose, when you return to Mars, where will you be landing?
I am going to be landing in Nevada.
Ah, the state of Nevada.
The state of Nevada.
Well, then you obviously are convinced they're going to get you back to Earth.
I am convinced that they will get me back to Earth. Just how far into it? That's what I'm not convinced about.
But, Jose, surely they must have provided something to break your fall.
Oh, yes, the state of Nevada.
State of Nevada.
Dana, of Hungarian and Jewish descent, was born William Sarsmary. He took the last name Dana after his mother's first name Dina, as he felt Sarsmary was unpronounceable. You have no idea how many times I practiced that to make sure I could pronounce it. Bill Dana, Jose Jimenez, and you couldn't do that sketch today. You couldn't do what he did today. But Bill Dana, a very delightful man, passing away back in June of 2017 at the age of 92. Dana born on this date in history. Turning 100 years of age today, British actress Glynis Johns, the oldest living Academy Award nominee for The Sundowners in 1960. Glynis Johns, the Big Three, 100 years old today. Remember the Steve Miller Band? Steve Miller is 80 today. From Animal House and Raiders of the Lost Ark, Karen Allen, 72. From the Boomtown Rats, one of the organizers of Live Aid, Bob Geldof, is 72. The writer of Hellraiser and Candyman, Clive Barker, 71. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson is 65. The third youngest of the Baldwin brothers, Daniel Baldwin, is 63. The ex-wife of Dustin Rhodes, she was known in the WWE as Marlena, in the WCW as Alexandra York. Terry Runnels, 57 today. From Melrose Place, Josie Bissett is 53. Actress Kate Winslet is 48. From Bend It Like Beckham and E.R., Parminder Nagra, 48 years of age. And I have to tell you, I saw Bend It Like Beckham and I knew that young woman was going to be a star. And she has been. And from Adventureland, Zombieland, and The Social Network, Jesse Eisenberg is 40 years old today. Those just a few of the people celebrating the 5th day of October as their birthday. We promised it to you. The birthday girl gets to sing happy birthday to herself today.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
She did have a hit record. Downtown hit number 82 on Billboard's Hot 100 on this back in April of 1966. That same month, the other side of the record, A Lover's Concerto, How Gentle is the Rain. That was a hit for somebody else, and I don't remember whom. But that, well, let's see. That got up to as high as 99. The Toys are the group that had the big hit with that. Anyway, Mrs. Miller, born on this date back in 1907. She passed away in 1997 at the age of 89. Okay, now that we have done all of that, we will tell you that Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox will go back this hour to 1952, and we will start off by hearing what's going on with Jack Webb in the city. Dragnet. That's next. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. A reminder that you can find our shows on demand at classicradio.stream. You can download the Spreaker app or almost anywhere podcasts are served by hearing our podcasts anytime. And a reminder to go visit the MyPillow.com website, the MyPillow Limited Edition 20th Anniversary MyPillows, as low as $19.98 for the queen size pillow, king size $10 more. Those are huge discounts. You'll find all sorts of other great stuff there. MyPillow.com. Use my promo code Wyatt or call 1-800-928-4715. Ask about the MyPillow Limited Edition 20th Anniversary pillow when you call, or just go to MyPillow.com and use my promo code Wyatt. Now, just the facts, ma'am. I know he never said it, but that's what we say here. Go to Dragnet now. Jack Webb in a broadcast from October 5th, 1952, and that is 71 years ago today.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to juvenile division. You get a call from a high school principal. A young boy has caused a near riot in his classroom. Your job? Investigate. Here's what the nation's press has had to say about king-size Chesterfields.
U.S. Tobacco Journal says Boston dealers and jobbers reported this new companion of the regular size is sweeping the market in sales, and stocks cannot be replaced fast enough.
The Wall Street Journal said a wholesaler says the problem isn't selling them. It's getting enough to meet the demand.
Dealers all over the country tell us no product they ever handled has grown so fast in so short a time as king-size Chesterfields.
King-size cigarettes give you quantity, but only Chesterfield king-size gives you quantity plus quality, premium quality.
Chesterfield king-size contains tobaccos of better quality and higher price than any other king-size cigarette.
Of course, it's the same fine tobacco as in regular Chesterfield. In fact, the only difference between Chesterfield king-size and Chesterfield regular is that the king-size is larger, contains more of these same tobaccos, enough to give you a 21% longer smoke, yet costs very little more.
So remember, Chesterfield is the first to give you premium quality in both regular and king-size.
Buy 'em either way you like 'em. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, October 3rd. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of Juvenile Division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Stein. My name's Friday. It was 1:47 p.m. when we got to Adams High School. Chemistry class.
Are you at the place?
Yes, sir. It's my partner, Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
I'm John Lane. This is my class. What little there is left of it. Have you seen Mr. Barlow?
Yes, sir. We talked to him when we came in. I think he's in the clinic now. He said you could give us a story. Is that right?
It was the Lambert boy. He came into class about 5 minutes late. We were just starting the lecture on analysis. I told Douglas to take his seat. He said something I couldn't hear, but he went back to his place, and I went on with the lecture. I guess it was about 10 minutes later that the commotion started. The first thing I knew about it, Larry McLean started to yell at Lambert, said something about keeping his mouth closed. Then Lambert said something about McLean minding his own business. I started off the platform to quiet things down. By the time I got to Douglas, he'd hit McLean. Well, after that, it's all a little confused. Flying apparatus, chemicals being thrown all over the place, glass breaking. The whole class seemed to explode.
Well, were the other members of the class fighting, or was it just the two boys?
It seemed like the whole class was fighting. At the time, it seemed like the whole school was in the room, all throwing things. Finally, I got the Lambert boy aside, and then the fight seemed to stop. In the meantime, he'd thrown a bottle of sulfuric acid at McLean, burned his face and his chest. The ambulance took him to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, and a nurse here gave him first aid.
Well, do you have any idea what started the argument here?
No, I'm not sure. As I got it later, it seems that Douglas made some remark about a young girl working next to him. I didn't hear it, but I gathered that it was a pretty filthy statement. McLean heard it, and that's when he told Douglas to keep his mouth closed.
Lambert is known as a sort of troublemaker then, is he?
Yes, and it's so hard to understand.
Sir?
Well, up until just lately, I'd say the last 2 months or so, he was a model student. He had a straight A average.
I wonder if we could see the boy.
I guess so. There isn't anything much I can do here. Terrible. It'll be a couple of weeks before I can hold a class in here again. It's terrible.
Yes, sir.
The clinic's down here.
Have you any idea what might have caused this change in the Lambert boy?
Well, I have my own suspicions, but he's only 15. It's hard to believe.
What's that, sir?
When he came into class today, I think he was drunk.
Oh, why do you say that?
I noticed that when he came into the room, he wasn't very steady on his feet. It'd have to be something like that to make him do this. Then, too, when I grabbed him when they were fighting, I thought I smelled liquor on his... Oh, we go in here.
Fine.
Here's the boy. Douglas?
Yes, sir.
These men would like to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
They're from the police. Mr. Friday, and this is Mr. Smith.
Hello?
How are you? Sit down, son.
Yes, sir.
How's Larry?
I don't know. They took him to the hospital.
If you don't mind, Mr. Friday, I'll check with the nurse, see how badly Larry was hurt.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. Now, son, you want to tell us what this is all about?
There's not much to tell. Larry and me got in a fight.
Mm-hmm. Well, what started the fight, son?
I don't know. He just wanted to cause trouble. Him and me never have gotten along. Always had trouble.
You been drinking, Doug?
Why do you ask that?
Because I want to know. Have you been drinking? How about it, boy?
No. Where would I get something to drink?
Well, now, something's a little wrong here, son. According to what Mr. Lane tells us. Looks like you might have been drunk when the fight started. He tells us that you said something to a young girl in the class. That's what started the whole thing.
You know he's lying?
Is he?
Sure. He's on Larry's side. The two of them are real thick.
That's not what he told us, Doug. From what he said, he's pretty fond of you. Said he couldn't figure out what happened to you lately.
Well, he's okay, but why does he say I was loaded? That's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, especially if you weren't. I'll tell you what, Doug. Let's get a traffic investigation car over here and take a toxometer test, huh, just to be sure.
Why? What'll that prove?
I'll straighten it out once and for all, whether you're drunk or not.
How about it, boy? Shall I call the car?
Doug?
No, you don't have to do that. I had a couple of drinks. Nothing serious, though. Just a couple of drinks. Nothing wrong with that, is there?
Where'd you get the liquor, son?
I don't remember.
No, this won't work, boy. We'll find out. You know that.
Well, I don't see what difference it's going to make where I got it. I've been drinking a couple of years. I know how to handle it. I know what I'm doing.
Mr. Friday?
Yes, sir?
See you a minute.
Well, sure.
What's going on? Something wrong with Larry?
I don't know, son.
I thought he was okay when they took him to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
The nurse said she took care of it. They said he was going to be okay.
All right, boy. Let's go.
Where are you taking me?
We want to talk to you downtown.
Something has gone wrong, hasn't it? Something's wrong with Larry. He's dead.
No, son. Larry's all right. He's burned, but he's going to be all right.
You're lying. I know. You want to take me to jail.
No, that's not true, son. We just want to find out where you got the liquor.
Yeah. Well, I haven't done anything. A couple of drinks, that's all. What's the harm in that?
Come on, son. You've got a lot to explain.
Okay, take me in. Put me in jail. I don't care what happens.
Yeah, you've already proved that. 2:26 p.m. Frank and I talked to Charles Barlow, the vice principal of the school. He told us the same story that we'd gotten from John Lane. He said that until a few months before, Douglas Lambert had been a model student. He was above average in his classwork and took part in all school activities. Suddenly, and without apparent reason, he had become the #1 troublemaker in his class. His attendance record became one of the worst, and his attitude toward his teachers was arrogant and discourteous. The principal told us the same attitude was being displayed by other students in the school. We notified Mrs. Lambert that we were taking him to Georgia Street Juvenile for questioning. We filled in Captain Stein on the developments, and then Frank and I questioned the Lambert boy. He was sullen and uncooperative.
I don't know what you want with me. A little fight, that's all it was. Why are you guys trying to make something big out of it?
You've already done that, Doug. Maybe you don't know what you've really done. Maybe we ought to fill you in on a few things.
That might not be such a bad idea. Tell me how I'm a criminal. Tell me I was a bad boy. Go ahead, tell me.
Don't get smart, son.
What do you want me to do? Sit here and listen to you guys yak at me? You expect me just to sit here and let you guys tie a rap on me that I haven't got coming? You got one thing on me. I had a couple of drinks, that's all. A couple of drinks. No harm in that. I don't feel so good. Why don't you guys leave me alone? I got a headache.
Larry McLean's got more than a headache.
So the kid shouldn't have started anything he couldn't finish. He wanted to be a big man in front of the class. He was. Now he's hurt and he's trying to blame me. It won't work, cop, and you know it.
That's enough of that.
I'm a minor. You can't touch me.
That's the trouble with you, kid. You think because you're under 18, the laws don't mean you.
You can't touch me and you know it.
Don't worry, Doug. Nobody's going to touch you, but let me tell you a couple of things. You sit here and figure you're a big man, a real tough kid.
You don't have to tell me.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm getting sick and tired of having kids like you waltz around the streets, your minds and hands filthy, bragging about what big men you are. You do what you want. You don't care about what it means to the people around you. How you hurt them doesn't matter. Everything's fine until you do something wrong and we nail you. Right away you start screaming minor, that you're a juvenile, just a kid acting normal. You steal a car for a joyride. An officer starts after you. You don't care who gets in front of the car as long as you get away. You don't let anybody stand in your way. Men, women, kids, they're all the same to you. Run them down. Show them that you're just a healthy kid out for some fun. After all, you're just a kid. The laws weren't meant for you. You're different. Well, there's another kid lying in a hospital right now. He's got real trouble. He got in your way. He didn't feel that you had any special rights. Be a big man, Doug. You go tell him that you knew what you were doing when you threw that acid at him. You tell him that you were just having a little carefree fun. Tell him that you know how to handle liquor. Tell him that he's going to spend a long time with a plastic surgeon because you're just a kid. You tell him that his face is going to be like that because you're just a normal, healthy, growing boy. I hope you're real proud of yourself. I hope you feel good. You've burned it right into your brain. There isn't any place you can go to get away from it. All right, boy, let's go.
Wait a minute, Mr. Friday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I acted like that.
All right, you want to try to make things right with Larry? You want to help us out on this thing?
Yeah, I guess so. Where do I start?
Where'd you get the liquor?
A place near school. Kids call it Sam's Club.
What's the address?
I don't know. I'll show you the place.
You say it's a club?
Well, sort of. You have to know the ropes before you can get in the place.
What do you mean, the ropes?
Well, they only let kids in. You ring the bell to the house, and then when they answer, you stand there with a $5 bill in your hand. Mm-hmm. That way they know you're okay.
Who is this Sam?
I don't know his last name. The kids just call him Sam.
He run this place all by himself?
No, there's his wife, Inez. She's usually around.
Just these two around the place, then, huh?
Yeah, that's all I know about. It always seemed to me that Inez was really the brains. She was always telling Sam what to do.
How'd you find out about this place, Doug?
One of the kids at school told me about it. He took me there one night. Then after he introduced me to Sam and Inez, I started to go there by myself.
What's it like inside? Do they have a bar or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. You walk into the living room, and there's a big bar along the right wall. All chrome and leopard skin. Real nice. There's a few tables around and a record player.
Yeah. They sell anything else in this place besides liquor?
I don't think I know what you mean.
You know what we mean, Doug.
Yeah, I guess I do.
Well, how about it?
Well, yeah, you can buy tea if you want it.
This $5 routine, what happens to it?
Well, drinks are 6 bits apiece. Sticks are $1.50. If you want to give them the 5 as you come in, you can have as much as you want. Otherwise, you pay for each thing as you get it.
You ever smoke marijuana?
Well, almost all the kids there do.
How about you?
If you don't, the other kids call you a coward.
Well, you still haven't answered the question.
Yeah, I've smoked it a couple of times.
Can you give us the names of the other youngsters who go to this place?
Well, wait a minute. I'll help all I can, but I'm not going to be a squealer.
I don't think it's squealing, Doug.
Yeah, well, you don't have to give the names.
Why not look at it this way, boy? You got trouble because of this Sam and Inez. Now, the same thing could happen to one of the other kids that go to this place. You want that to happen?
No,
Well, the best way to see that it doesn't is to tell us all you know about the place. Isn't that right?
I guess so. I'll give you the names.
Do they allow girls in this place, too?
Yeah, as long as you know the $5 bill gimmick, anybody can get in.
They allow adults?
No, if they figure you're over 18, they won't let you in. Especially at the Saturday night parties.
What kind are those?
Every Saturday night, Sam and Inez throw a party. For $5, you get all you want to drink and smoke. Sam told me once it's a good business. Makes for better customer relations.
Mm-hmm. You ever see any other narcotics on the premises?
I've never actually seen any myself. I've heard that if Sam or Inez know you real well, you can get a pop of heroin. But like I said, I've never seen it myself. Most of the kids that I know, the ones from school, just go there for drinks.
Anything else you think we ought to know?
No, nothing that I can think of.
How about these two? Either of them drive a car?
Yeah, Sam has a little Nash Rambler, dark green. Once in a while, when we stay over at lunchtime or when we're late getting home, he drives us home or back to school.
All right, Doug. Your mother ought to be here by now. If we need your help in getting Sam and Inez, we can count on it, huh?
Yeah, I'll help all I can.
Okay, son. Let's go.
Say, Sergeant.
Yeah?
I'm sure sorry about the way I acted. Really made a fool of myself. I hope you'll forgive me.
That's all right.
But you'd think there'd be an easier way, wouldn't you?
What's that, son?
To grow up.
We checked the names Sam and Inez through R&I and came up with a Sam and Inez Bailey. Both of them had long records for contributing to the delinquency of minors. Both had served time in the county jail. Douglas Lambert was shown mugshots of the couple and identified them as the owners and operators of Sam's Club. We checked with Captain Stein about picking them up, and it was agreed that the best way would be to catch them in the act of selling liquor and narcotics to juveniles. We talked to the Lambert boy, and he told us that it was the custom of the Baileys to hold a party every Saturday night. He told us that most of the youngsters who frequented the place would be there at that time. He put in a call to the house, but there was no answer. 6:15 p.m. Frank and I drove out to the place. It was a small cottage on the back of the lot. The landlord occupied the house in front. We rang the bell to the manager's house.
Yeah?
Mr. Halsey?
Yeah?
Police officer, sir. My name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
How do you do?
Honest, Halsey.
Want to come in?
Well, it might be better, sir. We'd like to talk to you about the Baileys.
Worst tenants I ever had. I knew they'd end up with the police.
Why do you say that, sir?
Well, I just do, that's all. They got a lease on the house, and if I could figure a way to get them out, I sure would. They're always causing trouble. All those kids.
Yes, sir. Do you have any idea where they are now?
Why, you going to arrest them? I hope so. Maybe I can break the lease that way.
You know where they might be now, sir?
No, I don't know. I shoved off this afternoon. They didn't say where they was going. They just left.
I wonder if you could let us see their house, sir.
Why?
Well, we'd like to look it over. Sorry.
Well, I don't know. What do you want them for?
We think they're selling liquor to minors.
Yes, they do a thing like that. The noise they made, the neighbors on both sides have been screaming.
Can you let us into their house?
You just bet I can. Wait, I'll get the key. Mm-hmm. Here's someplace. But, put in one of those little key rings. You know the kind with a rabbit's foot?
Yes, sir.
Sorry to keep your officers waiting. I know I'm always away. If you want something, you can always lay your hand right on it. And then when you're looking for it... Oh, here it is. See that rabbit foot?
Yes, sir.
Well, you can go out the back door, this way.
All right, fine.
Well, what are you looking for? What do you figure you'll find back there?
We're not sure, sir. Frank.
Yeah, Joe?
You want to stay out here and let us know if they come back?
Yeah, I'll wait in front of the house.
All right.
You know, it's funny about them.
What's that, sir?
Well, when they first moved in, they said they wanted the locks on the door changed. I told them it'd be okay, but they'd have to give me a key to the place. They had quite a ruckus about it, but I stood my ground. They wasn't going to buffalo me. No, sir. Here, I'll get the lock.
All right.
Okay. Gee, smells like they haven't had a window open in a year, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Look what they've done to this room. They built a bar and everything. You sure were right about them. I think I can break the lease on this. I'm pretty sure. It says in the contract that they can't do any building without my permission, and I certainly didn't give them any okay on this.
Yes, sir. This is the dining room?
Yeah, that's it. Just pull those doors back. What's that smell, Sergeant?
I'm not sure, but I think it might be narcotics.
Drugs. I knew it. I knew it all along. Oh, just wait till they get back. I'm really going to tell them. I really am.
Rather you didn't do that, sir.
What?
Rather you didn't let them know that we were in here, that you know anything about this.
Well, why? You're going to arrest them, aren't you? You're not going to let them get away with this.
No, sir, but we understand they've got a party planned here tomorrow night. If we wait until then, we can make a charge stick.
Oh, you mean they're going to have a drunken brawl? The kids here smoking marijuana, taking heroin, and stuff like that?
Well, we're not going to let them go that far, sir. We're going to need your cooperation here, Mr. Halsey.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Well, sir, we want to install listening equipment in here. We'd like to use your house.
You mean you're going to bug the place?
Well, yes, sir. We'd like to put in microphones.
Well, will it hurt the property? I mean, would you have to put nails in the walls, stuff like that?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Oh, well, then you can do it. Yes, sir, I want to help, Sergeant. That's the trouble with people nowadays. They don't want to help. You just go right ahead and put your microphones in, just as long as you don't have to nail anything in the walls.
All right, sir. If we could go back to your house, I'd like to use the phone if it's all right.
You bet. Closing that so they won't know anybody's been here, huh?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. Don't guess if I leave any fingerprints on the door, it'll hurt.
No, sir, I don't think it will.
No. Can't be too careful, though, But then I guess you know all about things like that.
Yes, sir. I'll go around front and get my partner.
Yeah, sure thing. You fellas all work in teams like this?
Yes, sir, most of the time.
Well, I never knew that before.
Do you have any idea at all where the Baileys might have gone? They give you any indication at all, sir?
No, I saw them leave this afternoon, just got in the car and left.
Did they take any luggage with them, suitcases, would you know?
Not that I could see, no.
Ah, you find anything?
Yeah, the bar's in the living room.
Oh, then what the Lambert kid said was true, huh?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Tell them about the dope in the dining room, how you open the door and smell the fumes.
Marijuana?
Yeah, it smelled like that.
Find any?
No, I didn't go over the place too good, and I thought if we were going to wire the place, we better get on it.
Yeah.
If we could just use your phone, sir?
Oh, yeah, you bet. Come on in. Right there, on the table in the hall.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Isn't a total call, is it?
No, sir.
Well, of course, not to make any difference. Just thought I'd ask.
Yes, sir.
You figure this will get in one of those detective magazines?
Well, I don't know, sir. We've got nothing to do with that.
Well, of course, I didn't figure that you did, but if it does, I hope they spell my name right. It's S-E-Y.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Some people forget the E, you see.
Uh-huh.
Spell it with just the Y.
2838, please. Asdale, it's Joe Friday. I want to install a dictograph at 825 North Lucerne. Yeah, 825 North. Mm-hmm. Right away. Yeah, well, you know better than I do. When you see the place, you can figure it. Yeah, the house in the front of the lot. What? Oh, maybe 30, 35 yards? Yeah, okay. Right away. Yeah, good. We'll be in the house in front. Yeah, all right, we'll see you then.
All set?
Yeah, Asdale's coming right out.
Good.
Say, Sergeant.
Yes, sir?
I just happened to think of something. Might not mean anything.
What's that, sir?
The other day, I think it was Monday. Yes, I'm sure it was Monday because I just come back from the laundry. I always pick up my stuff on Monday.
Yes, sir.
Well, when I came back, I met Mr. Bailey. He was putting around with the car. I asked him if he was going to take a trip. He said no, but he said he might get out of town for a little bit. I asked him if I knew anything about the roads.
What roads, Mr. Halsey?
Down to Mexico.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
And now, a report every smoker should hear.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report ever published about any cigarette. And it applies only to Chesterfield.
A responsible consulting organization has reported the results of a continuing study by a competent medical specialist and his staff on the effects of smoking Chesterfield cigarettes. A group of people from various walks of life was organized to smoke only Chesterfields. For 6 months, this group of men and women smoked their normal amount of Chesterfields, 10 to 40 a day. 45% of the group have smoked Chesterfields continually from 1 to 30 years, for an average of 10 years each. At the beginning and at the end of the 6 months period, each smoker was given a thorough examination, including X-ray pictures, by the medical specialist and his assistants. The examination covered the sinuses, as well as the nose, ears, and throat. The medical specialist, after a thorough examination of every member of the group, stated,
"It is my opinion that the ears, nose, throat, and accessory organs of all participating subjects examined by me were not adversely affected in the 6 months period by smoking the cigarettes provided."
Remember this Chesterfield report. It's the first such report ever published about any cigarette.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields.
Buy Chesterfield either way you like them, regular or king size. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
The men from the crime lab arrived and installed the listening equipment. A stakeout was placed on the house, but the Baileys failed to return that night. At 8:46 a.m. Saturday morning, the men covering the house called to say that the Baileys had just driven in. Frank and I got in touch with Douglas Lambert and his parents. With their permission, we laid out the plan for that night. It was agreed that the boy would arrive at the house at about 8:30 p.m. When the other youngsters had been served drinks, he would give us a signal by starting in to cough. When we came into the house, he would try to secure as many of the drinks as possible for evidence. We told him that there would be officers all around the house and that at no time was he to place himself in jeopardy with Sam, Inez, or any of the other youngsters. 7:30 p.m., Frank and I took up our positions in the back bedroom of the owner's house, turned on the dictograph, and waited. The Baileys were discussing the party. Sam was talking about how he watered the whiskey. At 8:27 p.m., 4 youngsters arrived. They rang the doorbell, and when Sam opened the door, they displayed the required bill. He nodded and ushered them into the living room.
Well, they did a good job in there, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Really hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Lambert boy should be here pretty quick.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like they're starting anything in there yet, does it?
No. How long do you figure we wait before we go in?
Well, as soon as he starts to cough.
You check with the other men?
Yeah, Turner and Brown are covering the back of the place. Lindsay and Carter and a couple of policewomen are parked down the street. You can see the car down there.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Huh?
Looks like the Lambert kid now coming up the walk.
Yeah, it is.
Sure hope everything goes all right.
All right, let's turn it up a little more, huh? Is that better?
Yeah.
I'll get it, honey. Change that record, will you? I heard it 4 times.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Doug. Come on in.
Thanks, huh?
Wasn't sure you'd be here tonight.
What made you figure that? You know I wouldn't miss one of these.
I just figured you might have gotten a little trouble the other day.
No, it's all right now.
Yeah, well, take it easy tonight, huh?
Sure, Sam.
Who is it, honey?
Doug Lambert.
Hi, Doug. You have any trouble with that McLean kid?
No, I was telling Sam the cops talked to me for a while. They didn't have anything on me, so they had to let me go.
You didn't tell him anything about this place, did you?
Well, of course not. You know I wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't, Inez. I told you Doug's all right. We can trust him.
Ah, things worry me. The cops get wise to this place and we really got problems.
Oh, honey, I tell you it's okay. Don't worry about it. Come on, let's get on with the sociable. What do you have, Doug?
Whiskey, I guess.
Good deal. Hey, you want a stick? Got some fresh stuff in, real good.
Yeah, sure.
That's my boy. You know, Doug, I like you. You're a good kid. Some of the other guys come in here. I guess Inez is right about them. They're jerks, but well, I feel I can trust you. Oh, excuse me. Well, you've got to fix the other kids up. Okay, with the feet. Well, kid, got something in your throat?
I don't know. It just started to
Come on, Frank. Door's locked.
Let's hit it.
What's going on? Who are you guys?
Police officers, you're under arrest.
What for? What are you trying to pull?
Hold it, everybody, right where you are.
Did you hear it all, Sergeant?
Yeah, Doug, we did.
Hear what? You in on this, Doug?
I told you not to trust any of them. I told you, but you wouldn't listen.
You want to kill the phonograph, Frank? Where do you get the marijuana, Doug?
Out of that drawer. There in back of the bar.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Right here, Doug?
It was way in the back.
Shut up, you.
Al. What about these, Sam?
I don't know what you're talking about. I never saw those before.
All right, mister, let's go.
I'll get Turner and Brown. They can take care of the kids.
Right.
You and your ideas. I told you we shouldn't have come back. I told you.
Oh, knock it off. Shut your mouth, will you?
I told you last night we should have kept driving, but oh no, you figure we got a sweet racket here. You don't want to change it. It's good, you said. Yeah? How does it look now?
Look, I'm telling you, take it easy.
All right, let's go, huh?
It's the way it is, Sergeant. Try to make a living for a woman, make things nice. The first time something goes wrong, she starts to squawk. Never failed. You're riding high, everything's fine.
Him and his living, always trying to build something up, always trying to figure out a way to beat the game. One big deal, one big thing to set him up for good.
Yeah, well, I think he made it this time. Let's go.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On January 14th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, as you know on Dragnet, we've always tried to emphasize the importance of facts, and when we talk to you about Chesterfield, we give you the facts. You heard the report George Fenneman read earlier. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. That's the first such report ever published about any cigarette. Remember that report and make Chesterfield your cigarette. Get 'em, regular or king size. Chesterfield, the best possible smoke, much milder.
Samuel G. Bailey and Inez R. Bailey were filed on under the Health and Safety Code, Section 11,500, possession and sale of narcotics, and found guilty on one count. They were found guilty on 2 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Violation of Section 11,500 of the Health and Safety Code is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not more than 5 years, or imprisonment in the county jail. Contributing to the delinquency of a minor is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail for a period of not more than 1 year. The boy, Douglas Lambert, was made a ward of the juvenile court.
Ladies and gentlemen, where the community chest is at work, Red Feather Services, like youth programs and clinics, hospitals, and the USO, give direct help to 2 families out of 5 every year. And indirectly, everybody benefits. Because community chest services make America's cities and towns healthier, happier places to live. So give generously to your community chest. Pledge enough for all the community campaigns that are united under the Red Feather banner.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Sam Edwards, Vic Rodman. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Tomorrow, sound off for Chesterfields. Either way you like 'em, regular or king size, Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
There you go, an episode of Dragnet from Sunday, October 5th, 1952, 71 years ago today. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, and coming up next, we will take a look at the news from 71 years ago today. If you listen to Classic Radio Theater on a phone and you would like to listen on a little bigger speaker, I found something that might interest you. And it also might help you listening if you have internet at home and this sort of thing. And it is the Ocean River WR336F Wi-Fi Internet FM radio. It is a portable radio, 4 preset buttons, rechargeable battery, has a nice big speaker. You can connect to it via Bluetooth, and it has all sorts of radio stations available. In addition to being able to stream podcasts, you can also hear more than 30,000 internet radio stations. You can check them out. I know our friends from the Antioch Broadcasting Network, their shows are up there as well, so you can get this thing. And it's under $100. The Ocean Digital WR336 connects to Wi-Fi so you can hear internet radio, and that's something really nice to have. It's available, as I said, for under $100. Also, if you want a little different look, try the Ocean Digital WR23F. It's also under $100. You can find them by going to our webpage, classicradio.stream, classicradio.stream, and click the button at the top of the screen where we have the link there for that, along with links to a lot of other things. Your purchases from Amazon help us defray the expenses of this show. Go to classicradio.stream and check it out there. Now, as we mentioned, on this edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, you are listening to episodes of Dragnet, and we'll hear the Aldrich Family in just a moment, as both were broadcast on Sunday, October 5th, 1952. Now, in the newspapers of that Sunday, 71 years ago, these were some of the headlines. President Truman accused General Dwight Eisenhower yesterday of endangering the nation's security by falsification of the facts about Americans' abroad actions. Eisenhower, the president said, played a major role in shaping the decisions he now is condemning as blunders. The president brought his Stop Ike campaign to a new peak in an address in which he said Eisenhower has joined in Republicans' wave of filth, which distorts history and brings the U.S. closer to World War III. The Democrat presidential nominee, Governor Adlai Stevenson, has the support in varying degrees of most of the South's top state officials and party leaders. The three notable exceptions are Governors Alan Shivers of Texas, Robert Kennan of Louisiana, and James Burns of South Carolina, who have announced they will vote for the Republicans' Dwight Eisenhower. An Associated Press survey yesterday showed Stevenson's backing in the southern states, ranging from the reluctance with Georgia's Governor Herman Talmadge will vote for the nation's ticket to all-out thumb-thumping campaigning. General Eisenhower said yesterday Governor Stevenson is an echo for Secretary of State Dean Acheson and an apologist for the administration's foreign policy. The Republican candidate said his Democrat opponent has had nothing to add to the tired arguments advanced many times by the Secretary of State. Meanwhile, Governor Stevenson last night in St. Paul, Minnesota, denounced Senator McCarthy as a champion by trial of trial by ordeal and slander, and called the Wisconsin Republican a member of the GOP's murderer's row in Congress. And Stevenson, the Democrat nominee, said General Eisenhower's endorsement of McCarthy for re-election can leave no doubt in anyone's mind that the general is hopelessly the captive of the old guard of the Republican Party. Gallup poll today shows Eisenhower is leading Stevenson in the state of Ohio. Colonel Aubrey D. Smith, a handsome 45-year-old Texan, died yesterday of a knife wound which General Mark Clark's headquarters in Tokyo said was allegedly inflicted by his attractive wife, Dorothy. Mrs. Smith, the daughter of General Walter Kruger, retired World War II commander of the U.S. Sixth Fleet in the Pacific Campaign. She was held for observation in the isolation ward of an Army hospital in Tokyo while the Far East Command conducted an official investigation. John Foster Dulles yesterday offered a formula for ending the Korean War through greater use of South Korean troops. General Eisenhower, the GOP candidate, made a similar suggestion earlier this week. In an address to a luncheon meeting of the City Club in Rochester, New York, the foreign policy advisor to Eisenhower said the real enemy, Russia, wants us to prolong the war for two reasons: to tie up U.S. military strength at a remote point, to lead us to a Dunkirk or worse if there was a general war, and to use the war as a propaganda device aimed at persuading Asians and others that Americans are militaristic barbarians. Rita Hayworth and Ali Khan have split up again. The feud that started 18 months ago apparently resumed. The glamorous Hollywood actress a couple of days ago quietly left her husband's plush suburban home, where she and the Muslim prince had lived together for more than a week. She moved into an equally plush Paris hotel, according to the Lancaster, a few paces off the beautiful Champs-Élysées. The move went unnoticed until yesterday. Alan Baldwin, teacher at McKinley High School in Redwood City, California, got a parking ticket. He loaded his 39 5th and 6th grade pupils into a bus and took them to court to show you how justice works. In municipal court at nearby San Carlos, the pupils heard Baldwin plead innocent, and the judge asked to see his driver's license. The judge looked at the license and exclaimed, "This expired last January. That'll be a $10 fine." Baldwin, paying, directed to appear Wednesday for a hearing on the parking ticket. He didn't plan to bring the class along again. Oh, there were write-in votes in the Japanese election this week. One was for Joseph Stalin, and another for General Douglas MacArthur. Though some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, October 5th, 1952, on your radio, we just heard Dragnet. In just a moment, we will hear the Aldrich Family as we continue here with more classic radio theater with Wyatt Cox on this Thursday. A reminder, visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. Lots of things and lots of information. Learn how to build a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links there. You can find some purchases to support our program. And most importantly, you can buy me a coffee. That helps us acquire additional programs to bring you here. Now, let's head back to this date we're on today, October 5th, 1952, 71 years ago. An episode of The Aldrich Family, the final season of the program, starring Bobby Ellis as Henry Aldrich.
By transcription.
Henry Aldrich!
Coming, Mother?
Yes, The Aldrich Family, written by Clifford Goldsmith. Centerville is only a dot on the map, and 117 Elm Street is only a typical American home. But it's where the Aldriches live, and it isn't far from where you live, or used to live. And as a typical teenage boy, Henry Aldrich is always certain to stir up any number of mishaps and memories. The scene opens in the Aldrich living room. The time is Saturday morning.
Oh, boy, Mary, do I feel swell.
Henry, why are you puffing out your chest that way?
No, I just feel swell.
Why do you say that, dear?
You know what happened at school this week, Mother?
What, dear?
Well, they were having a meeting, see? And I didn't know they were going to elect a class debt committee. And the first thing I know, somebody nominated me.
What kind of a committee?
A class debt committee.
A class debt?
Sure, Mother, we owe money, and they needed someone to take charge of it.
And you were elected?
Sure, almost unanimously.
Who did what unanimously?
The class father, to me.
Sam, Henry's been elected to wipe out his class debt this year.
What? Gee whiz, I don't know. Everything's just suddenly going swell.
And you were elected unanimously?
Well, practically. And then the school photographer took a picture.
Of you, Henry?
Sure.
Henry, I certainly hope you didn't have your picture taken looking like that.
What's the matter with me?
You never needed a haircut more in your life.
My haircut? I don't need a haircut.
Look at it. It's almost down to your shoulders.
Mother, you're exaggerating.
Would you like some ribbons in it, Henry?
Mary.
Well, dear, you should never have let them take a picture of you like that, especially if they elected you unanimously.
Mother, they didn't just point the camera at my hair. George Bigelow didn't even have a tie on.
What was he doing in the picture?
Well, gee whiz, Father, you don't think they'd ask me to wipe out the whole debt single-handed, do you?
Well, those that don't notice George's tie will certainly notice your hair. Henry, how many are there on your committee?
Well, counting everybody, 14.
14?
14?
Yeah. But in the picture, I was in the first row, Father.
Well, it's too late now, but you're going down and get a haircut.
On a Saturday morning? Waste the whole Saturday morning in a barber's chair?
As a matter of fact, if you wait until I finish the breakfast dishes, I'll go down with you.
No, Mother, I can tell them how to cut my own hair all by myself.
But, Henry, how about the last time you came home with a haircut?
Gee whiz, Mary, that's the way all the guys were wearing it last month. Low in the front and high in the back.
Well, I'm going with you.
Mother, please don't embarrass me.
My goodness, what's embarrassing about having your mother go into a barber shop with you?
It just isn't done, Mother. The very idea makes me nervous.
Alice,
Yes, Sam.
could you come here a minute, please?
I'll be right there. And, Henry, you're to get ready to go down to the barber shop.
Yes, Mother. Only don't feel you have to leave your work in order to go with me. Mother? Mother?
Henry, she wants to go with you.
Mary, she'll only be embarrassed down there with all those men. You tell her I'll have it cut exactly right.
You better wait, Henry. Henry!
Henry!
Mother, he's gone.
He's gone where?
To the barber's, and when he comes back, he'll simply be a sight.
Well, I have a good notion to phone Thompson's barber shop and tell them just what I want done.
Where are you going, Henry?
To the barber shop, Homer. Now, I'm in a hurry. Look out.
You don't need a haircut. What do you want a haircut for?
Listen, Homer, do you see that lady coming down the street back there?
In the next block? The one that's running?
Yeah. That isn't my mother, is it?
No, she's running for a bus.
Oh.
What barber are you going to?
Mr. Thompson, right here in the Centerville Times building.
Oh. Did you know you're going to have your picture in the Times tomorrow?
In the Times?
Sure. The one guy McCorkle took of the class debt committee.
Is it going to be in the Times?
Sure, tomorrow. He spent all day yesterday persuading them to run it, and they finally gave in.
Well, gee whiz. Imagine. Homer, do you see that car coming? That isn't my mother, is it?
No.
Oh. Just the same, I'd better go into the barber shop.
If I see your mother, I'll tell her you're looking for her.
No, Homer! You never even saw me.
Hi there, Henry.
Now, how do you do, Mr. Latin?
Well, hello, Henry.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
Do you like this chair here?
Well, you have one not quite so near the window?
You don't like this one?
Well, I'm thinking of the strong light.
This is the only one that isn't busy. Hop in.
Yes, sir.
Hair trim?
Yes, sir.
How do you want it?
Well, I'll tell you. I want it sort of... You see this right over my ears?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of hard to explain. You see this right up on top?
Yeah.
Well, I'll try to tell you. Do you know Eddie Shenton?
Eddie Shenton?
Well, he was a lifeguard down at the lake this summer.
How did he have his cut?
Well, it's hard to show you if you've never seen him.
Well, how about this chart here? I got a photograph of just about every style there is.
Well, gee whiz, let's take a look at it.
Yeah, here you are. Now, here's a style they call the New Yorker. That would sort of fit your head.
You think so? Is that popular?
Oh, sell a lot of these. And here's the one they call the Yale Bowl.
No, I don't think my mother... In fact, I don't think anybody would care for that one. What's this one?
The Beau Brummel.
That's more the Eddie Shenton kind. Could you give me the Beau Brummel up on top and the New Yorker on the sides?
Sure.
No, I think that'd be a good combination.
Well, I'm glad to have a customer that knows what he wants.
Well, the way I look at it, if you don't know how you want your own haircut, who does? Would you mind swinging the chair around a little so I could look out the window, please?
I thought the light hurt your eyes.
I like to watch the traffic.
Well, how's that?
Fine.
Would you mind not twisting your head like that?
Oh, excuse me. I just happened to see somebody come out of that store across the street.
Say, who is that?
That girl? Oh, that's Natalie White.
Not bad.
She's got a dog just like mine.
Would you mind holding your head still?
Well, I wasn't looking at her. I was looking at that man go up the ladder.
The Times is putting up a new electric sign out there.
The Times? Mr. Thompson, that reminds me. Do you ever read the Times on Sunday?
Yes, sir.
Well, I certainly wish you'd skip it tomorrow.
Yeah, bad news?
They're going to print my picture, darn it. Gee, do I hope they don't put it on the front page.
What are they going to print it for?
Well, I'm in charge of something over at the high school. Gee, was I embarrassed when I heard about it.
Embarrassed?
You know, everybody in town will see it, and they'll all be calling up my mother.
Well, most boys would be pretty proud about a thing like that.
Well, I'd rather just be one of the crowd. You know, once they start printing your picture, where's it all going to end?
Could you hold your head still, Henry?
I was just looking over at the bakery.
That Natalie White's coming across the street, isn't she?
I guess she is.
Good-looking girl.
Oh, gee whiz, what's she coming in here for?
Excuse me, but could I bother you?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Henry.
Hello. How's your dog?
She's fine. How's yours?
He's fine.
Mr. Thompson, they don't have any change over at the bakery, and they thought perhaps you could change this $5 bill.
Sure, I guess I can help you.
Hey, Mr. Thompson, is Henry here?
Homer, where did you come from?
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Homer.
Henry, I just ran into your sister up the street. She's told me to tell you as soon as you've had your hair cut, You're to go right home and let your mother see it.
Your mother?
What do you mean she has to see it?
Homer, did Mary say that?
Sure. She said Henry couldn't be trusted in a barber chair.
Honestly?
Gee whiz, Homer, always trying to kid. Mr. Thompson, when you get through on top, I'd like a shave.
A what?
A what? A shave. And make it close. And with bay rum. Mother! Where are you, Mother?
Out here in the kitchen.
Is there anything I can do to help you?
I'm busy right this minute, dear, breaking these eggs.
Oh, well, if there's anything I can do.
Henry, I thought I told you to go to the barber's.
I did go.
Well, why didn't you have your hair cut?
Gee whiz, I did. Can't you see?
Henry, he didn't even touch it. Turn around.
Mother, I know he cut it. I saw the hair fall off.
Well, dear, I can tell when my own son's hair has been cut. All he did was comb it down.
Mother, is there anything I can... Henry, Aldrich, what's happened to you?
What do you mean, what's happened to me?
Well, you're as white as a sheet.
Gee whiz, Mary, that's just sort of powder.
Talcum powder?
Sure. Didn't you ever hear of anybody using talcum powder after shaving?
Henry, who shaved you?
And what's that piece of bandage doing on your cheek?
It's just a cut, Mary. It's just a cut. From the razor.
How did the barber happen to cut you?
A ladder fell.
What fell, Henry?
A ladder that belonged to the Centerville Times. When the man jumped, I jumped. And so did Mr. Thompson.
And, Mother, look at Henry's hair.
I have, dear.
My goodness, it's even longer than it was before he went.
How could it be, Mary?
But it is, Henry. This morning it was in curls down to here, and now it's straight and it comes all the way down to here. My goodness, what's that awful smell?
What smell?
Henry, what did he put on your hair?
Just a tonic, Mother, to keep me from growing bald.
Mother, hold me while I faint.
Henry, dear, I'm not going to have you walking around the house looking like that.
And, Mother, did you know Henry's been going around telling everyone he's going to have his picture in the paper tomorrow?
Listen, Mary, who told you that?
My goodness, it's all over town.
It is?
I was just talking to Ted Gould, and he said Mr. Thompson told him.
Well, I certainly thought Mr. Thompson could keep it confidential.
Henry, you're going right straight back and tell Mr. Thompson to pay a little more attention to his own business and not so much to everybody else's.
What do you mean?
I want him to cut your hair correctly.
Mother, he did.
Henry, I want your hair cut.
Mother, you're just influenced by the looks of this bandage. If you back off into the dining room and look at me, you'll get an entirely different perspective.
I'm not going to pay good money to have you look like that from any perspective. Now, please start, dear.
But, Mother, I'll be embarrassed to death. Gee whiz, Mr. Thompson's very busy, and he cut my hair, and I paid him. I wouldn't be comfortable asking him to do it again.
Well, then I'm sure Mary would be very glad to go down with you and ask him.
Mother!
Yes, Mother, I'd be delighted to.
No, Mary, no!
But, Henry, don't you want to be comfortable?
Mary, you can't do that to me.
Henry, stop acting like a child.
I'll go back, Mother, alone. I'll ask him by myself. But please don't any member of this family come along.
And will you tell him to take some off the sides and off the top?
Yes, Mother. I'll tell him to give me a good all-around trimming.
Hello, Henry.
Hello, Natalie. Where you going?
Home?
Well, I'd carry your bundles for you if I didn't have to go back down to back downtown for something.
You gotta go back? What happened to your face?
A man fell off a ladder.
On you?
No, right in front of the Centerville Times. He didn't hurt himself, though.
Oh, that reminds me. I guess I'll certainly have to buy a copy of the Times tomorrow.
You will? What for?
Oh, you're just modest. Everybody knows about it.
About my...
Your picture. It is going to be in the Times tomorrow, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, sure. It sort of slipped my mind.
I'm getting a copy for my family, and I'm going to send one to my cousin in Abbott City.
You are?
I'm going to tell her you live right in the same block with me, and you have a dog just like mine. Was your picture taken with your dog?
No, it was taken without him.
Henry, would you mind looking in this bag, please? The one under my arm.
Sure, what for?
Well, could you see whether that bottle of vanilla extract is broken?
Well, it's there, but it isn't broken.
Isn't that funny? I thought I smelled something.
You did?
Henry!
Oh, gee whiz.
Henry, wait for
Oh, boy. Goodbye, Natalie.
Henry!
I've got to be going.
Wasn't that your sister calling?
I guess it is. Tell her I haven't time to wait.
We'll return to the Aldrich family in just a minute. Tonight, NBC rolls out the red carpet for two of the most popular people in radio. Tonight, Phil Harris and Alice Faye return to the air on this station with their whole gang and more laughs than you can shake a stick at. And this is just a reminder to tune in. Then, as another Sunday feature, Theater Guild on the Air brings you Morning Star with Sylvia Sidney and Molly Goldberg in a story about some wonderful people who made homes out of a cold water tenement. And also this evening, Jack Webb stars in another dramatization of a case history from the files of the Los Angeles Police Force on Dragnet. And no NBC lineup is complete without the best news and special event shows. So tonight, listen to the American Forum of the Air and meet the press. Yes, for the tops in radio, just stay tuned to NBC. And now getting back to the troubles of Henry Aldrich. His mother is upset about his haircut. When he returned home from the barber shop, she told him, to his complete embarrassment, that he must go back and have his hair recut, this time correctly. The scene opens as Henry re-enters the barber shop.
That you, Henry?
Yes, Mr. Thompson.
What are you back for? You forget something?
No, not exactly. I'll tell you, Mr. Thompson, if you aren't too busy, could you make a couple of small changes on this job?
What's wrong with it?
Oh, why, nothing's wrong with it. I like it very much, only my mother... well, you don't suppose you could give me a little less of the New Yorker and a little more of the Yale Bowl, could you?
Sure, I can do anything you want, but if I even touch your hair, it's going to spoil it.
You think so?
I've been cutting hair for 20 years, and that's one of the best jobs I've ever done.
Well, now that I look at it in your mirror, I can see that it's pretty good.
Your mother see it in a good light?
Oh, it hasn't anything to do with my mother. I guess it was just a mirror we have at home.
Well, of course, I'll spoil it for you if you really want me to.
Oh, no, I wouldn't even have you touch it. Goodbye, Mr. Thompson.
Goodbye. See you in a couple of weeks.
Henry!
Oh, gee whiz, Mary.
Has Mr. Thompson changed your hair yet?
Not yet, Mary. I'm just going in.
Well, I'll go in with you.
No, Mary, you go on, please. I'll be in here for quite some time.
But Henry!
No, Mary.
Yeah, what is it now?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Thompson. I know it's against my better judgment, especially when... Well, that is... Well, I think I'll let you spoil it.
What's that?
Well, what I mean is, you think you could take a little more off the top and the sides, maybe?
What for?
Well, I've got a hat at home, see, and it's my favorite hat, and it fits a little snug. And I think maybe it would be better
Why didn't you tell me you wanted it cut to fit a hat?
I didn't think of it before.
Well, hop up in the chair. But mind you, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm just going to ease it off a little.
Oh, sure, I wouldn't want you to do any more than that. Quite a crowd out in front there, isn't there?
Yeah, that new sign that's being hoisted into place is quite a job.
I'm glad to have sort of a front row seat like this.
Mr. Thompson, is Mr. Lapham here?
Yeah, just a second. Hey, John, customer.
Coming.
Hello, Toby.
Hi, Hen.
Will it be, Toby, a haircut?
Yeah, my mother says give it the works.
Get in the chair.
Henry, were you just talking to that Natalie White a little while ago?
Sure, why?
Well, just because she's a new girl in town, Henry, don't think you have to impress her with yourself.
What do you mean?
You know what you told her.
I?
About your picture being in the paper tomorrow.
I told her that? Toby, I hardly brought the subject up.
Hold your head still, Henry.
You made the whole thing up just to make her think you were somebody.
You're crazy.
You mean it isn't going to be in the paper?
Yes, it is, Mr. Thompson.
It is not.
You want to bet, Toby? Do you want to bet?
Sure, I'll bet you.
Wholesale, Toby.
I'll bet you anything you want to. How much do you want to bet?
Anything you want.
All right, how much?
Toby, I happen to know the paper is printing it.
All right. Here's what I'll bet you then. Ouch.
Now look what you made me do. I've given you a bald spot.
Well, you better take it all off. I like it short. Henry, here's what I'll bet you. We'll make it a box of candy. If I win, you pay for it, and I'll give it to Natalie White. If you win, I'll pay for it, and you can give it to Natalie.
Say that again, Toby.
Hold still, will you?
If I win, all you have to do is buy me a box of candy to give to Natalie.
And if I win, you buy me one to give her?
Sure.
Shake.
Hey,
hold
get back in the
still.
chair.
You want to lose an ear?
It's a bet.
It's a bet.
Hey, Henry,
What do you want, Homer?
I thought we were going to listen to the World Series this afternoon.
Keep quiet while I finish combing his hair.
But the game's begun. The first man struck out.
I'll be right there, Homer.
Yeah, there you are, Henry.
Can you hurry, Mr. Lapham?
That job's perfect, Henry. Now, don't you even touch a comb to it.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. Frankly, it's just exactly what I wanted.
Hurry up, Henry.
I'm coming. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
See you in a couple of weeks.
And wait for me, fellas. Mr. Lapham, couldn't you just sort of chop it off?
Gee whiz, does that Toby think he knows everything?
Why?
He comes in and he tries to make out I'm a liar. My picture isn't going to be in the paper tomorrow.
It isn't.
What?
It isn't.
What do you mean it isn't? You're crazy.
Are you trying to make me out a liar, Henry?
You're the one that told me he was going to be in.
But I just heard that Guy McCorkle that took the picture dropped his camera.
When?
I don't know when he dropped it. How would I know?
Well, gee whiz, Homer, you should never have misled me like that. Am I going to be disgraced?
Why care about Toby?
Homer, it's all over town that my picture's going to be in.
Well, don't blame me, Henry.
Gee whiz. You think I want to pay for a box of chocolates for Toby to give to Natalie? And then have him sit and even eat them with her? Again, Mother?
Yes, dear.
Mother, what does Henry have to do again?
Mary, dear, if I were you, I'd stay out of this.
Oh, my goodness, Henry, it's worse than ever.
Now, listen, Mary, I'm tired of this. All I've heard since I got up this morning is my hair. It's been hair, hair, hair.
Henry!
What, Homer?
The Yanks just scored.
Mother, please don't make me go back and be trimmed again. Right in the middle of the World Series.
Henry, I don't want to hear another word about it. You're to go back and tell Mr. Thompson that I want your hair cut correctly, or I'll know the reason why.
I'll go. Only when I get back into that chair, it'll be just like getting up on the guillotine.
Henry!
Come on, Homer. We gotta go downtown again.
Now?
Homer, I have to.
Mother, do you want me to go with him this time?
Listen, Mary, don't you even come near that barber shop.
What do you have to go for, Henry?
I have to have my hair cut again.
How are you going to have it done this time?
Well, I don't give a darn how he cuts it. I've lost interest.
Aren't you even interested in how the Yanks come out?
No. Did you have that snapshot of me?
Sure.
Do you understand what you're going to do with it?
Sure. I just put it under the door of the Times office and beat it.
Is my name on the back?
Sure. It says, Henry W. Aldrich, chairman of the Class Debt Committee.
I guess that'll put Toby in his place.
It's too bad you don't have one where you're not in a bathing suit.
You think they'll really print it, Homer?
To be honest, no. But I'll tell you how you could get it in, though.
How?
Get engaged. Then they'd be sure to print your picture. On the society page.
In a bathing suit?
What difference would that make? You'd win the box of candy.
I know how I might get my picture in.
How?
Well, if I could only be near a good accident just as it comes off, then maybe I could.
Look out! Look out, Henry. Do you want to be killed?
Gee whiz, why doesn't he watch where he's going?
Boy, I practically saved your life.
I'm not sure you should have.
Box of candy, eh?
Yes, Mr. Aldrich. Toby was sitting in this chair here, and your son Henry was over there in Mr. Thompson's chair. And they started arguing about Henry having his picture in the paper tomorrow.
Is it going to be in?
So he says, Mr. Aldrich, and Toby says he's crazy. That's how they came to bet the box of candy.
Well.
Now then, is there anything else?
You all through shaving me?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, you can give me a couple of good hot towels.
Yes, sir.
Just let me lie under them for a while and relax.
Yes, Mr. Aldrich.
You heard how the ball game's going?
4-2, seventh inning. Now, just put your head back, Mr. Aldrich.
Good.
Too hot?
No, feels good.
Mr. Lapham, is Mr. Thompson here?
Well, you back?
Who wants me?
It's Henry, Mr. Thompson.
Now what?
Mr. Thompson, could I just have a word with you?
You've changed your mind again?
Oh, no. No, as far as I'm concerned, my hair's just perfect the way it is. Only if you'd be willing to cut it a little short, I'd be glad to pay you 60 cents out of my allowance.
What do you want to do that for? You rolling in money?
I don't care about money. The main thing is I want to see everybody satisfied.
Yeah, hop up there. I'll get my clippers. Between this haircut and that box of candy you bet, you're going to be broke.
Gee whiz, why should I worry about money? When my allowance is gone, there's always plenty more where it came from. I don't want to get personal, Mr. Thompson, but I wonder if maybe your hot towels aren't too hot.
What makes you say that?
I thought I heard the man in the next chair groan.
Sit still, Henry.
Yes, sir.
Well, if your mother doesn't like it this time, it won't be my fault.
You think you ought to make it that short?
Sure. We're closed all day tomorrow, and this is your last chance.
I know, Mr. Thompson, but...
Hold still. Don't even speak. There.
Well, I think that's much... Will that be a full 60 cents, Mr. Thompson?
Forget it.
Forget it?
Yeah, and I'll try and do the same.
Well, thank you very much. Now I can go home and watch the game without anything on my mind. Goodbye, Mr. Thompson. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Forget it.
Hey, Henry! Henry! Oh, I thought you were Henry Aldrich.
I am Henry Aldrich.
What happened to you?
Now listen, Homer, what is it you want?
Turn around and let me see your face.
You're looking at my face. Did you take care of the picture?
I got caught.
Where, Homer?
Sticking your picture under the Times door. Just as I put it there, the door opened, and they told me to take it and beat it.
Well, gee whiz, Homer, you're a big help.
Hello, Henry. Oh, I thought you were... Oh, my!
Now listen, Natalie.
You have some scrambled eggs, Henry?
No, thank you, Father.
Mary,
Yes, Mother.
will you please tell your brother he just spilled some marmalade?
But I'm not speaking to him either, Mother.
Why not?
Well, look at him, Father. His head is practically shaved.
Well, gee whiz, Mary. After you've gone to the barber shop as many times in one day as I did yesterday, you can't expect to have much hair left.
Let's not even mention Henry's hair anymore. I'm going to get ready to go to church.
I'll be ready to go with you in just a minute, Mother.
Oh, no, you're not going with me.
Well, gee whiz. You mean I can't appear in public with anyone in the family?
Henry, have you been down to the corner to get the Times?
No, Father.
Did you forget it?
No, sir. I just thought you'd like to eat breakfast in peace, without worrying about anything.
Well, as soon as you've finished your breakfast, will you please go and get the paper?
Yes, sir. But first, could I make a proposition with you?
What kind of a proposition?
Well, if I go down and get the paper, not only this morning, but every Sunday morning for the next 6 months, could you advance me $1.50?
To buy a box of candy?
A box of candy? Father, what do you mean by that?
I thought you were rolling in money.
I'm rolling in it?
After all, when your allowance runs out, there's always plenty more where it came from, isn't there?
Who told you that?
Just common gossip.
Mary?
Yes, Mother?
Will you please tell your brother that Toby Smith is very anxious to speak to him on the phone?
Mother, could you please tell him I can't possibly come to the phone?
Why not?
I'm sick in bed.
But you're not.
Couldn't you say he's been scalped?
Please, Mother, tell him I can't come to the phone.
Who's that?
Hey, excuse me. Excuse me, but is Henry here?
What do you want, Homer?
Did you see the paper? Did you see the paper?
Not even interested in it.
Did you see the front page? Here, take a look.
At what?
At this.
What is it?
It's just 3 pictures of their putting up that new sign in front of the Times office.
Don't you see yourself?
Me? Where?
Sitting in Thompson's barber shop, in a chair.
I am? Well, how did they happen to print that?
Why don't you read what it says? These 3 unusual photographs were snapped in front of the Times building yesterday at 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3 p.m.
Which one am I in?
All 3.
All 3?
Look at yourself under my magnifying glass, Henry. You can even see the scar where Mr. Thompson cut you.
Well, gee whiz. I look pretty good, don't I? Mother! Is Toby still on the phone?
You would be a poor businessman to invest money without determining what your dividend would be. So I'd like to tell you what return you'll receive on your investment in your community chest. Well, normally, about 40% of 100 families receive directly services of some kind from one or more red feather agencies during the year. Such services include aid to the handicapped, to orphan children, to the aged, and to the sick and needy. And all families benefit indirectly because these services work to make your community a healthier, happier, better place in which to live. Well, this year, it's a bigger red feather because the United Red Feather Campaign must raise $17 million extra to provide for the United Defense Fund services. which include 257 USO clubs, USO camp shows, American Relief for Korea, and many others. So when you make your contribution, give enough to cover normal needs, plus an extra amount for the added services made necessary by this defense emergency. It's a bigger red feather this year. Give the United Way.
Gee, Homer, am I sore at Toby?
Why, Henry? Didn't he give you the box of candy to give to Natalie?
Sure he did. But I didn't know he was going to put my pictures in it.
Those three getting your hair cut?
Sure. And on the bottom he wrote, Chairman of the Class Debt Committee, going into debt.
The Aldrich Family is written by Clifford Goldsmith. Henry is played by Bobby Ellis and Homer by Johnny Fiedler. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are House Jameson and Catherine Roth. Your announcer is Dick Dudley.
71 years ago, October 5th, 1952, the Aldrich Family. This is Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Hey, that's me. Now we go back 86 years, October 5th, 1937, an episode of the syndicated Phyl Coe Mysteries for Phyl Coe radio tubes. This contest, if you will, that's what this episode entitled Murder on the High Seas, as we have Peggy Allenby as Phyl Coe, her boyfriend portrayed by, yes, Bud Collyer.
Murder on the High Seas. Another Phyl Coe radio mystery program on the air. Another chance for you to win your share of $50,000 in cash prizes. Have you entered the Phyl Coe radio mystery contest yet? Do it now. Everybody's excited about this great contest of skill that rewards the winners with $50,000 in cash prizes. Every week at this same time over this same station, your Phyl Coe radio tube dealer brings you transcribed the Phyl Coe Radio Mystery Contest. Fascinating mysteries for you to help solve. The new, entirely different radio program where you get the thrill of showing how good a detective you are. Remember, in order for you to stand the same chance of winning a share in the $50,000 cash prizes as everybody else, you must have Phyl Coe Radio Mystery Book number 2. Get your free copy right away from your Phyl Coe radio tube dealer. Nothing to buy, just ask for your copy. This big book tells you all the details about the $50,000 cash prize Phyl Coe Mystery Contest. It's filled with facts and diagrams. It will help you win. Now let's have some mystery. If you already have your book, be sure it's open to pages 4 and 5. Follow the action on the diagram as you listen to the broadcast of Phyl Coe Radio Mystery number 5. Death Boards the Sea Serpent. Phyl Coe and her friend Tom Taylor have gone fishing way out in Great Salt Bay. A few moments before our story begins, they've sighted a cabin cruiser some distance away, drifting about aimlessly with its engine running. And since no one has answered their repeated calls, Phil and Tom have gone over to the cruiser in their fast sea skiff. As the scene opens, Tom has just succeeded in boarding the boat and making his skiff fast to the cruiser's stern.
Ahoy in there! Anybody aboard?
Here, Tom. Help me aboard.
All right. There we are.
Thanks. I'll cut the engine. You go forward and drop the anchor.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Good heavens, Tom.
What is it?
Come back here.
Okay.
Look at this woman. She's unconscious.
Say, nasty gash in her head. I'd better run down into the cabin and get some water and a towel.
Yes, hurry, Tom.
Well, there must be somebody else around. The table down here all set for 4.
There must be a sleeping cabin further forward. Better investigate. Oh, gently now. You've hurt your head.
Jack. Where's Jack? Where's my husband?
Here you are now. sit on this seat. There. That's it. Hurry, Tom.
Coming. Oh, see, you brought her, too. I found a woman asleep in the forward cabin. She's coming right up.
Jane, dear, what's happened?
Oh, Alice. Alice, where's Jack?
I don't know. I've been asleep. What happened?
Someone hit me on the head.
Hit you? Oh, why, Jane, that's ridiculous.
Well, I tell you, someone hit me.
Do you feel better now?
Yes, a little, thank you.
Who are you people? What are you doing on the C7? This is Jack Wilson's boat. My name is Phyl Coe, and this is my friend Tom Taylor. We saw your cruiser drifting, and when no one answered our calls, we came aboard. May I ask your name? You may. I'm Alice Jocelyn. Jane Wilson here says she was hit on the head.
I'm worried about Jack. That's Mr. Wilson, my husband, Miss Coe. Alice, is the dory back there?
No, it's gone. I suppose Jack and Ed went fishing in it. And Ed is Ed Jocelyn, your husband, is that correct? That's right.
Oh, I'm worried about those two men. Something awful must have happened.
Since Mrs. Wilson believes someone hit her, I want to ask a few questions, if I may.
Why, we'll be glad to answer any question you may ask, Miss Coe. Won't you sit down, all of you?
Sit here, Phil.
No, thanks. I'll sit on this little steering seat here by the wheel. Oh, goodness.
What's the trouble?
Oh, there's an exposed nail in the steering seat. I've torn my new slacks.
Well, you certainly have. If I were you, I'd sit down again until you find a needle and thread. Sit here, I'll stand.
Oh, thanks. Now, Mrs. Jocelyn, you said you'd been asleep. That's right. Your friend Mr. Taylor woke me when he came down into the guest cabin. Have you any idea how long you'd been sleeping? Well, what time is it now?
Almost 1.
And I must have been sleeping about 1 hour. Were you bothered by any unusual noises? No, I slept the entire time. I didn't hear a thing. I sleep very soundly. You call this Jack Wilson's boat. I take it that you and your husband are guests? Yes.
Alice and Ed Jocelyn are old friends of ours.
I see. Now, Mrs. Wilson, please tell me what you were doing before you were struck.
Well, Ed Jocelyn and I were in the after cockpit. Ed was getting his tackle ready to go fishing with Jack and the dory. My husband, Jack, was on the forward deck getting his fishing tackle ready. I don't know where you were, Alice, but you said you were down in the guest cabin asleep.
That's right, Jane.
Well, about 12:30, I went below to give some last-minute instructions about luncheon. I thought I heard Alice call Ed from up on the forward deck, but I couldn't be sure because Noggy had the radio on so loud.
To whom did you give instructions about luncheon?
To Noggy.
Who is Noggy? The Wilson's Japanese steward. Of course, Jane, that explains everything. It was Noggy that hit you. You had trouble with him last night, you know, about our dinner.
Yes, perhaps it was Noggy. Well, anyway, I gave instructions to Noggy, and then I came back up here. Just as I was stepping out to the after cockpit, I was struck on the head.
Where is Noggy now? Better go look for him, Tom.
Right away.
Oh, Alice, I'm so worried about Jack. And Ed, too. I'm sure something has happened to them.
Oh, Jane, they often go out fishing in the dory when they're going to do any chumming.
But they never go out of sight of the cruiser. Oh, and besides, they never go away and leave the engine running. Oh, I know something awful has happened. I know it. I just know.
Mrs. Wilson, why don't you go into the cabin and lie down?
Well, thank you. I will. You'd better stay here and help Alice watch for the men. Call me if you see them coming.
I will, Mrs. Wilson. Poor Jane, she's so excitable. Yes, she is. I think she'd better be taken into port for medical attention. Can you handle the cruiser, Mrs. Jocelyn? Oh, good heavens, no. I wouldn't know one of these levers from another. Besides Ed and Jack, and Noggy is the only other one who can run this boat.
All right, come along now. We're not going to hurt you.
But, sir, Noggy know I've done anything.
Well, it's Noggy. Where did you find him?
In the rope locker up under the forward deck. He was hiding in there.
Yes, sir. You bet. Noggy hide.
Just a minute, Noggy. Why did you hide in the rope locker?
I come out, say luncheon serve, if please, and see Missy Wilson out flat, blood all overhead. Noggy very much scared. Go and hide in locker till Honorable Sir come pull him out.
Tell me, Noggy, while you were preparing luncheon, did you hear any unusual sounds? Any noise at all out here on deck?
No. Phyl Coe radio, she play too loud. It play all time while I get lunch. Noggy like keep radio loud. Make everything more happy.
You certainly were playing it loud, Noggy. What do you mean, Mrs. Jocelyn? He had it turned on full volume. I dare say he had a purpose in keeping it so loud. Noggy, why did you hit Mrs. Wilson?
I no hit nobody. What you mean, Mrs. Jocelyn?
Let's not be hasty, Mrs. Jocelyn. After all, we don't know that Noggy did hit Mrs. Wilson. Well, if you're going to defend that steward, I'm not going to stay here another minute. You'll find me in the guest cabin.
Don't mind Missy Jocelyn when she fly off handle. She very nice sometime.
Apparently, this isn't one of her times.
Noggy, you said you ran forward to the rope locker. Did you see or meet anyone on your way?
Oh, no, nobody.
I don't want to embarrass you, Phil, but perhaps Noggy can bring you a needle and thread.
Oh, sure. Noggy have plenty needle, plenty thread for sewing.
Oh, I didn't realize it was as bad as that. Noggy, I tore my slacks on that nail there in the steering seat.
Oh, Noggy, forget the hammer nail in. Yesterday, Missy Jocelyn get big tear, too. She run big boat while men out in little boat fishing.
Oh, Noggy, how's forgetting the needle and thread, huh?
Oi! Sea serpents!
Say, here comes the Coast Guard.
Who is it? Is it Ed? I don't know yet, Mrs. Jocelyn.
Oh, Alice, maybe they have bad news about Jack. Oh!
This line, will you?
Right. Let her come. That's it. I got it.
I'm coming aboard.
Okay, jump over.
Oh, they're towing our dory. Oh, where's my husband? What's happened?
Oh, just a minute, lady. We're coming to that. I'm Captain Brent, Coast Guard. I've been looking for this cruiser.
Captain Brent, I'm Phyllis Coe.
Oh, afternoon, ma'am. I've heard a lot about you.
This is my friend Tom Taylor. These ladies are Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Jocelyn.
Jocelyn, eh? Boy, send Mr. Jocelyn over.
Right, Captain.
Alice, something terrible has happened.
What do you mean, Ed? Where's Jack?
Okay, Mr. Jocelyn. I'll tell them your story.
We were fishing. Jack upset the dory.
Ed.
1 minute, Jane. 1 minute. I righted the boat and dove for him, but it was no use. Captain Brett picked me up, and then we found Jack's body floating on the water.
Tom, you'd better take Mrs. Wilson inside.
Noggy will help too, sir.
Oh, you stay here, Noggy. I can do it.
Poor Jane. Her husband drowned. Oh, why, it's horrible.
He wasn't drowned, Mrs. Jocelyn. He was murdered.
Murdered?
Yes. He was dead before he was dumped into the water. His skull was bashed in with a bottle. We found pieces of glass in the wound. It's my guess that Mr. Jocelyn did the job, then rode him out and dumped him.
No use of my lying, Captain Brent. You're right. I did it.
Oh, Ed.
All right, come along, Jocelyn. We're taking you ashore.
One moment, Captain Brent.
Yes, Miss Cole?
Mr. Jocelyn didn't kill Mr. Wilson. Mrs. Jocelyn is the one you want.
Well, that's preposterous. I've given my confession.
Yes, Mr. Jocelyn. But your wife Alice has already given hers, although she hasn't meant to. Oh, Ed, help me.
I'll do all I can, Alice, darling. All I can.
Don't you want to tell the whole truth now, Mrs. Jocelyn? Yes. This is the truth. Jack Wilson and I were sitting on the forward deck. He was mending his fishing tackle. Jane Wilson and Ed were in the after cockpit. Ed was getting his tackle ready to go fishing in the dory. Go on. For the past year, I'd been borrowing money from Jack Wilson and hadn't been able to pay it back. This morning, he threatened to tell my husband about it. Jack and I argued, and then I lost my temper. There was a bottle lying on the deck, and without knowing what I was doing, I hit him. Oh, I didn't mean to kill him. Honestly, I didn't. Then I called my husband, and he came forward and found that Jack was dead. Oh, I can't go on.
I'll tell the rest. I planned to get the body in the dory quickly. I knew that Jane Wilson was in the main cabin with Noggy. But when I got back to the cockpit, Jane was coming out. I had to hit her so she wouldn't see me with Jack's body. Then I shoved her back into the control cabin. I told Alice to start the engine and run the cruiser into Baytown with Jane.
I was going to take Jane to a doctor and say that she'd fallen while the men were out fishing. I ran about a mile, and then I saw your boat and lost my head and went below and made believe I was sleeping. And the rest we know.
Darling, if you'd only told me about the money you borrowed, I'd have paid him back.
No, Ed. You couldn't have. It was way too much. Oh, Ed. Ed, what will they do to me?
Did you know it was Alice Jocelyn all the time? Then it ought to be the easiest thing in the world for you to write down 3 reasons why Phyl Coe, the famous girl detective, suspected Alice, too. It certainly pays to listen carefully to every one of the Phyl Coe radio mystery programs. $50,000 in cash prizes in this easy, spectacular contest. Huge weekly prizes, mammoth grand prizes, just for answering the contest questions asked in Phyl Coe Radio Mystery Book number 2. Of course, you have your copy. If you haven't, Get it now from your Phyl Coe radio tube dealer. It's free, nothing to buy, and you must have this book to enter the contest. It contains the official entry blanks on which you must write your answers. Listen to Phyl Coe Radio Mysteries every week at this same time over this same station. Don't miss one of them. Don't miss any detail of any program either. Have Phyl Coe radio tubes in your set so that reception will be clear and good. Names of the major winners in this week's contest will be broadcast as soon as possible on a following Phyl Coe Mystery program. Next week, another chance to win your share of the $50,000 cash prizes in this mammoth radio contest. Next week, another Phyl Coe Mystery program. Next week at this same time over this station, hear Phyl Coe, the girl detective, solve the Double X mystery.
There you have it from 86 years ago, October 5th, 1937, Phyl Coe Mysteries, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit the webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows, learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there, find our social media links. You can buy me a copy if you're so inclined. And thank you for joining us. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Tell your friends I have the greatest radio shows of all time right here on the Classic Radio Theater podcast. And by the way, you can also hear us through Spreaker. Download the Spreaker app on your phone for the easiest way to have them right there on demand.